So Sean Payton decided to give us exactly where he sees the Denver Broncos 2026 offseason going. And Broncos country, it might be to the chagrin of what you thought Denver would do. But I am here to tell you that based off of this report, I'm not necessarily buying everything that Sean Payton is saying. So let me explain a little bit. Chris Wecht, who is an NFL reporter, came out and said that he spoke to Sean Payton and stated at the Combine that they are targeting running backs and linebackers and will continue to look for that joker trait in their running backs and tight ends. And then he also mentioned that they feel good about their wide receiver core and should expect no changes in that room in 2026. I don't buy that for a second. I'm not calling Sean Payton a liar. That's not what I'm doing. But I believe this is smokescreen season, and I think that's what's going on here. Now, before I explain exactly what I mean, I have to at least ask you guys to do something that I found very helpful this morning. I got a very nice message from a Broncos fan on Instagram. And if you have yourself a question that you want to ask me directly, ask me in my DMs over on Insta. Moose_NFL is my handle. And if you've got a specific Broncos question that you want me to answer directly to you, Moose_NFL, or use the link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. Okay, the main question is Sean Payton a reliable source in this case? Well, obviously, in terms of being the team's head coach, yes, he is. But can we trust everything that he's saying here? And I don't think that we can. I think we have to look a little bit deeper into the between the lines of what's happened with the Broncos since the season ended. So while Sean Payton can claim that he feels good about where the Broncos wide receiver room is, I think we can take a look back at everything that's happened since the end of the year and kind of pick apart why maybe that might not be exactly true. So let's first start with the context of the statement. Sean Payton makes this exact quote, this exact phrase, this exact statement at the NFL Combine. Well, what are you doing at the NFL Combine? You're scouting college players. You're scouting players for the 2026 draft. And here's what he said. Targeting running backs and linebackers, and will continue to look for the joker traits in running backs and tight ends. Well, what is something that we know about what the Broncos did at the Combine? They met with running backs, they met with tight ends, and they met with linebackers. He's talking about the draft. I don't think the Broncos are going to draft a wide receiver anymore. I think they're going to try and draft defense. They're going to draft a running back. They're going to draft a tight end. They might draft a little bit on the defensive line. They might draft a little bit on the offensive line for extra depth. But if we take a look at the Broncos wide receiver room right now, when Sean says it's fine where it's at, I kind of believe that he thinks that for... It's tricky. I think that he looks at it and goes, we don't need to make a big-time addition in the draft. You drafted Pat Bryant last year. You drafted Troy Franklin a couple of years ago. He's continuing to ascend. Marvin Mims is ascending, and Courtland Sutton is what he is at this point. But let's just take a look at the notable draft meetings the Broncos had over the Combine. You met with Kenyon Sadiq, tight end. You met with Jadarian Price, running back. You met with Oscar Delp, tight end. Johnson, Allen, nobody of note as a wide receiver. So I don't think the Broncos have their eyes set specifically on a wide receiver target, especially for the 2026 draft. I think they've got their eyes on Kenyon Sadiq. I think they've got their eyes on a tight end, a linebacker, and definitely with guys like Jadarian Price at the running back position. But let's go beyond that. Let's go further along. Let's go back to the 2025 trade deadline. Let's rewind the tape, go all the way back to November when we got the Ricky bomb that the Denver Broncos were interested in Jaylen Waddle. And if you remember, after the trade deadline ended and there were no moves made by the Broncos, Sean Payton came out and said, I love where our wide receiver room is at. I don't think we need to add any more there. That's what he said. And then the report surfaced that George Paton called about Jaylen Waddle. And then every single Broncos insider is saying the exact same thing. Broncos are looking to add a playmaker. Every insider, and you can even go beyond that. You can go beyond and ask guys like Cameron Wolfe. You can go on and ask guys like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter. They're all saying the same thing. Playmaker, playmaker, playmaker. So Sean can't also publicly say that we need to upgrade at the wide receiver position, right? You as a head coach cannot make the public statement, we are going to add another wide receiver because we need to. Just like the Vikings can't say, we need to go and replace J.J. McCarthy. They can say, oh, we need to add competition. But we all know what that means. We all know what that means. You wouldn't bring in a guy like Kyler Murray, if you're the Vikings, to compete with J.J. McCarthy. You'd be bringing in Kyler Murray because you know that he would replace J.J. McCarthy. We can just do a little bit of deeper digging. So, before we continue on with the other reasons why I think we can still add a wide receiver, do you think the Broncos will add one this offseason? Whether that's in a trade, in free agency, whatever. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Before we continue on, I do have to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is our friends over at PrizePicks. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right, PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting, so don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. New feature alert, they now have early payouts, meaning if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you have the option to cash it out, and those lineups are super simple and quick to make. Takes 30 seconds. Just pick your player, the more or less on their stat projections, and then watch your money multiply. Up to 2,000 times your cash this football season on PrizePicks. So do yourself and Uncle Moose a favor. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. Another reason why the signs point to adding a wide receiver. You got Bo Nix's rookie deal. Now, this one might be a little bit more of a common sense thing in the NFL, if you ask me. I have always been under the belief that during a quarterback's rookie deal is the time to really load up your roster. And for the most part, the Broncos have done that, right? Their defense is one of the best in the league. Offensive line is incredible. But Bo is now entering year 3 of his rookie deal. He is eligible for an extension this year, next year, and then if they decide to move on and, or not move on, but pick up his 5th-year option. So expect sometime in the next 2 years that Bo Nix gets his deal, right? He gets that big deal. And if Bo is the quarterback that we all think he will, they're not going to pick up his 5th-year option. They'll just extend him. So the winning formula in the NFL is predominantly in these 2 areas when it comes to your quarterback. Quarterbacks on a rookie deal. So can you win that Super Bowl in the first 5 years that the quarterback is on the rookie deal? And quarterbacks on a team-friendly deal, a.k.a. Sam Darnold, a.k.a. Jalen Hurts. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the obvious exception here, but we could go back multiple years. Tom Brady did this constantly. He would always take the team-friendly deal. And if you don't believe me, let's just go take a look at the 10 highest-paid quarterbacks in the league right now. Can you tell me if any of these quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl in the last ever? No, none of them. Now, most of them make the playoffs, right? Herbert, Jackson, Goff, Purdy's made a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's made a Super Bowl. Josh Allen gets deep into the playoffs every single year, but not a single one of them has won the big one. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl champion because he wasn't making the most in the league. You can't also bank on Bo taking a team-friendly deal. I know that George Paton has cultivated a locker room and a franchise where teams and players on this team take team-friendly deals, but we can't guarantee that. If Bo Nix goes to Sean and George and says, I want $58 million a year, what are you going to do, not pay him? You can't bank on a player saying, I will take way less than what I deserve only because it gives us a better chance to win the Super Bowl. That's just, you have to prepare for every situation. And finally, another sign that points towards adding a wide receiver. The offseason moves that you've made since the season ended. The Broncos announced that they fired Terry Colbert. Remember that? They fired their wide receiver coach. I mean, that's a pretty big indicative move of something needs to change at the wide receiver spot, right? But I will play devil's advocate here. I will. Because, again, you could make the argument that you're blaming the coaching, not the players. And either way, if it's the coach's fault, if it's the player's fault, or some sweet and salty combination of both, the Broncos were second in the league this year in drops. That's not good enough. I mean, that not only is that not good enough, that's bad. This needs to get lowered, cut in half, if you will. And do you mean to tell me that you're going to blame 100% of the Broncos wide receiver problems on the coach? 100% of it. All of it. No, you can't. You can't, because not every single problem was because the Broncos were trying to catch the ball wrong. That's what Sean Payton said. Our wide receivers were taught to catch the ball wrong. Their mechanics were off when they were taught how to catch. But they made the NFL as wide receivers based off of these requirements and their past abilities to catch the football. And look, I won't deny it. The Broncos wide receiver room it's fine. Right? It's a B- to a B. You know, Courtland Sutton as your number one is not going to win you any popularity contest. And I know Troy Franklin got way better, and I know that we have high hopes for Pat Bryant, and Marvin Mims wasn't used correctly. But two things I believe absolutely can be true. Number one, Sean Payton was way too vanilla in his play calling. And number two, the Broncos lack a home run hitter at wide receiver. Courtland Sutton is not a home run hitter. He's a good wide receiver and probably one of the best twos in the league at this point in his career, given his age. That's not a shot at Courtland Sutton. That is the truth. We know what Courtland Sutton is at this point. He is going to be a fringe 1,000-yard wide receiver, and if he's your number one, I got news for you. You need more explosiveness at that position. And there's still plenty of trade buzz surrounding some home run hitter wide receivers. A.J. Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., who had a really bad year, but go back to his rookie year. He was unbelievable. Jaylen Waddle is still very much in play, according to Dolphins insiders. D.J. Moore has been a name that's been thrown around. And if we don't want to trade for anybody and give up any picks, then free agency still offers plenty of players that you could go after. Mike Evans, Alec Pierce. I don't know that I want Brandon Aiyuk, but Jauan Jennings is another player that you can add in free agency. So when Sean comes out and says, and you could bring me up full screen here, producer JD. When Sean goes out and he says, we are fine at that position, I don't expect any major moves to be made at that wide receiver room. I think what Sean is telling you is kind of what he told you at the end of the trade deadline. I like the players that are there, but I'm not going to divulge any ridiculous information that might hinder our ability to get someone of significance, right? Like, I'm not going to tell anybody that we're eyeing a wide receiver one, or I'm not going to tell anybody that we're eyeing a trade target, because you can't upset the people in the room, and also you don't want to hurt yourself in a bidding war. We clearly saw the Broncos try to make a move yesterday for David Montgomery, and they were outbid. Luckily, and I think that was the right move that they got outbid, because I would not have given up that much for David Montgomery, but we've already seen the Broncos trying to get active in that. And George Paton came out and said, I view R.J. Harvey as a 3-down back at the combine. And then all of a sudden yesterday, 24 hours ago, Broncos are trying to trade for David Montgomery. You can't always take what the coaches and the GMs and everybody in the front office says at face value. Sometimes you got to use context clues to figure out where the truth lies. All right. Sorry, there was a lot of information there. If you have a question about anything that we talked about in this episode, make sure that you do it over on Instagram, NFL. I've got 1,000 followers. My goal by the end of the draft, I'm hoping I can get up to 1,500. Can we make that happen? So if you want more Broncos content, make sure you follow me over on Insta. My name is Moose. I'll be back a little bit later today with more news and rumors surrounding your Denver Broncos and what's going on with Ben Powers, Alex Singleton, and now Jarrett Stidham entering the mix. We'll touch on all of it. Make sure that you subscribe, like the video, and as always, be cool.